now I want you to talk to me about being a content creator for a full-time job versus not.
Maybe leaving your full-time job and just doing the 9 to 5, like doing your content creation as your 9 to 5, as your full-time thing, nothing else, no distractions. Number 1 tip for engaging reels.
So you could just have a real clear hook that's just telling you what you're about to get at. That doesn't need to be anything fancy. Well, it's the classic hook, but I don't mean like hook. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of TTC TV. This is a YouTube show designed to help you dominate content creation while Darren and I do the same thing. Darren, you have been busy and you've had a big few weeks, but not in the content space.
Well, personally, yes. Married life has not changed.
Look at that shiny thing, people.
You know, someone at work called it cute the other day, and that is not the vibe I was going for. I'm like, this is meant to make me feel complete, and it does, but cute was a weird way to describe it. No, married. You were there?
I was there. Congratulations once again. It was terrific.
What do you think of it?
Terrific. It was an amazing, I was going to say production, but I guess in a way it is a production.
Entertainment production. No, it was good. Besides from the hail, good.
Yes, the weather was shocking, but that's not why we're here.
The first half of the day was good. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Well, I mean, it was bucking down with hail when we were trapped in the car before the actual ceremony.
Good times. They made it memorable, and they do say that's good luck. But no, we're here to talk about content.
We are, but it all relates to being to our personal lives as well, because that is what we practice and we preach.
Our lives are dedicated to making good content. Yes. It's not actually,
but no, two married men. The show won't change much, but fun fact.
It feels like we're just like full on reflecting, but right now. But it's true. It is a nice moment. Let's get into it, eh?
No, I'm well. Yeah, no, I've been busy too. Yeah. So
I actually always like the shows that make it, or the podcasts that make an effort to be like, how was your weekend? So how was your week?
Good. I've been, I think when you've asked me about the freelance life, sometimes I'll be like, 1 week is very editing heavy and 1 week is very shoot heavy. And that could be not more true.
It's almost like alternating, yeah.
Yeah, and that's very true because last week, very editing heavy, and then the last 3 days, over the last 4 days, has been 3/4 shoots.
Yeah, I feel like
so it's been a big couple of days.
I said this from day one from you going full-time freelance, and I will say going full-time freelance is a great little plug for what I'm about to talk about. Thank you, later on, because you're the man to talk about both using it as like a side, like after your 9 to 5 and as your 9 to 5. So I'm excited to talk to you about that because you have lived it all, my friend and my brother.
And you've lived one half of that as well. So we're going to be touching on that.
True.
So 9 to 5 content creation versus 5 to 9, so outside of work hours. And then I'll be touching on, well, it sort of reflects to my busyness of across 3 or 4 shoots, but the types of filming in 2024, and we're going to stick it to sports, but gimbal, handheld, tripod, pros and cons, our favorites, what we both prefer. So let's jump straight into the Q&A though, Darren.
Okay.
Hit me with the first one.
I will. From Maggie. Thank you, Maggie, for watching, listening every week, I assume. Don't know, I'm acting like I know you. Number 1 tip for engaging reels.
Engaging reels.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, it's the classic hook, but I don't mean like hook. Like it doesn't need to be like
jump scare isn't a bad idea actually.
True. I think it does. You hear that first 2 to 5 seconds or 3 to 5 seconds is the most important part of a video. That is certainly what I believe, but I don't think it always needs to be the What's the thing for articles where you the clickbait? Yeah. So I think it could be humor, personality, something that makes you look at it and be like, "What's that? Oh, that looks a bit different."
Yeah.
So something in the first 3 to 5 seconds that
you need
gets your attention.
Yeah. Which it's harder than like that sounds like it's kind of cool to know that may be all you need to grab attention, but it's kind of hard because then you don't want to go in the too far in that direction that you're just like, hey, I've got a cool idea for a reel, but I don't know what the hook is, so I might not do it. And it might be too obvious. Like, it might be literally way too obvious that you're trying to grab attention. But in saying that, even if it is, it probably still works. So,
but to that point, I think you can play into the obvious. So I think sometimes we think you need to be extra creative and have a real hook, attention grabbing first sentence. But sometimes, and I've seen other content creators do this really well, where they just say really simply what you're about to get. So for this one, you're just like, this is the most engaging ways to get a well, that was poor. But you'd just be like, example. These are the best tips for an engaging reel.
Yes.
But you'd say that or use a bit of vision that's eye engaging.
Yeah,
So-
and you'd also be like, the first thing that came to mind as well was if you were enthusiastic enough about what you're talking about and you're passionate enough.
Yeah, not in my monotone. But
No, that in itself is a hook.
yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So you could just have a real clear hook that's just telling you what you're about to get at. That doesn't need to be anything fancy.
exactly. And Maggie's number one tip, I don't know, I think that would be it for the hook. I was going to quiz you. Do you remember a few weeks ago how I said a lady from Meta, I believe, came into the NBL and talked about reels? Now, I'm asking myself this because I forgot. But do you remember what she said was the ideal length of a reel that would gain the most?
20, 40
Yeah, I think it was
seconds?
like 20 to 30.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's a good point. So length.
yeah, we actually had a meeting at the NBL yesterday or 2 days ago, and Mark Simeone, shout out to you, the great man from, he like heads up our social team, and then he jokes that he's like, if you were sending me a reel, just make it 7 seconds. I'm like, 7's a bit too much. I reckon he's half serious. He's like,
for sure, it's
Yeah.
going that way.
it's quite funny.
Are there any other things in terms of, so we've covered hook, length is a good one, so don't necessarily go for a minute anymore.
Yeah, no, true. I would just like again, the comparison piece. Like, if you want to talk about something, just do it. Like, I know having a hook and stuff is great, but if you find something interesting and you think other people will, just do it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get in your own head, but
Relates to authenticity.
for it.
Just go for it. And I was just thinking, it's also good to, if you can work in, not necessarily always a storyline, but like a start point and an end point.
Yeah.
So
true.
if you were just like, these are the best tips for an engaging Instagram reel, maybe even a hint that at the end your favorite is at the end.
Yeah, no, true. A little hook.
Yeah.
It's all about hooking. Anyway, great question.
Very good question.
Next one, Michael.
Which clubs are doing the best content in Australia right now?
That's it's hard to pinpoint. I know myself because I'm in the basketball world.
Yeah.
I do follow footy content. I'm trying to think about what other sport content I actually properly
In
follow.
Australia?
Yeah, like soccer, no. NRL, maybe the main page, but I don't really follow
Really?
club. Oh, maybe Melbourne Storm. Sorry, Melbourne Storm. Have always
I follow
been-
Storm because I've done a few.
Yeah, I feel like Melbourne Storm have always been high quality.
Actually, great shout.
Yeah.
For two people that don't follow NRL or rugby at all, Melbourne Storm have always stand out, whether it's quality or creativity. I feel like they come out with
Yes.
some very good, different stuff. But on the spot, NBL clubs, do you have favourites? You're a bit. Am I
Yeah,
putting you in a bit
so
of pressure here? But give me like an NBL club.
No, I don't want to do. No, I'm kidding. Adelaide 36 is their photographer. Damn, I'm going blank on his name. People say I look like him, actually.
Oh, I know.
You
I
should
mean,
know
I know
that.
his page. I don't know him.
Damn it. Adelaide 36 is a photographer, whatever your name is, and videographer. I believe you do both. But
They always do.
your photos kill it. Cameron, someone. Cam. Pretty sure that's it. Cam from
Cam.
Adelaide 36 is his stands
Run
out.
with
but
it.
No, I'm pretty sure about that. But from a like photographer, videographer sense,
Yeah.
definitely him. But I'm trying to think about content like every day.
Kings?
Quality, yeah. They do.
Particularly, we'll go into the next question slightly here, particularly the media day. So the crew that does their...
Oh, yeah. Well, that alludes nicely to
The next-
the next question. Yeah, we can't touch on that yet, but that's
No.
a little plug on
AFL
some individual content creators.
Yeah, we will do that next. AFL clubs. Favourites.
I'm not finished with them.
Oh,
yet.
sorry.
I was just going to give a quick shout out to Phoenix, who have been doing a bit more interactive stuff with their players. Like
Yes.
I've seen many times of just like mics to the players, and they
Yeah.
it could be fun questions, more TikTok sort of heavy content, but that stuff's cool because you get to see
I agree.
what the players are actually like. So shout out to them. I'm trying to think of other clubs. Oh, Cairns graphic design. Cairns graphic designer is elite. Again,
Yeah.
forgot the man that does it. Oh, hang on.
It's all right.
Almost
you
came to
don't-
me, but no, he's elite.
Yeah. They're actually...
Carter Hook design or something like that. Carter, yeah.
Yeah. They're
Elite,
actually
yeah.
not someone that I've noticed. That's good. In a not a negative way, but I like you highlighting them because
Actually,
now I'll pay more attention.
Actually a top tier
Yep.
graphic design
Yep.
team or person.
Yep. And I agree with Phoenix's. I saw a video they posted the other week of it. They were incredibly random questions. Cairns did it as well, I think, as players were arriving. And I don't know, it's funny that some still get uploaded because some of the questions from the players are just like, what? That's a stupid question.
That-
And then it's a cut.
That type of content is definitely hit and
Yeah.
miss. I will say that.
Yeah.
I think you'd be best to say AFL clubs because there's a few that stand out to me, but I think you're a mo across it, so feel free.
Yeah, I think these two, Hawks and Giants, are probably two that a lot of people have highlighted. Should I never mind. Highlighted for recent 2024 season, and both Giants are sort of renowned for pushing the issue on, I guess, pushing the boundary on typical club content, which
Fun, right? Like they're more
fun.
like jokesters, aren't they?
yeah, jokesters, but like almost I'd align them with like American clubs because they're they're a bit cheeky. They they push the issue with
We like that.
yeah, they push the issue with players, opposition. They always have memes if they beat a team, like taking the piss out of their opposition. And then Hawks are the other ones, and they're probably a lot of people have known them for their selfie tradition after every game.
Oh yeah, sorry.
They started that. I think they've started a few other things in the AFL club, but they definitely play into the TikTok culture because their players are bloody young.
Because they're
Which
young, and
works,
yeah. I was gonna say for the people that don't really know Hawthorn content, describe it, but you've done that. They're more like they kind of buy into what their players are like, which is obviously a pretty good way of going about your brand, right? Like you don't want to do the opposite.
Yeah, it's a really good point actually. So they're all 19, 20, 21. Their whole roster is that young, so they're all base it off them.
I'm sorry, I don't know their roster back to front, but I'm sure there is people that are like.
Well, no, I
30.
I think they've literally only got a handful.
Oh, we'll look into that offline. No, that's great. We'll move on to individual content creators. We didn't just chuck this in one after the other, but it's a nice little segue.
It is. Same person? Did the same person ask it? That was off your story.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
No, but I mean, makes sense. Anyway.
We'll stick to local because I feel like we've shouted out some NBA, some NFL, maybe content creators like American Landscape, but there's some really talented, as I've just mentioned in some
Australian.
in some NBL content. There's some really talented Australian people. You've got a few, but I wanted to give out some Queensland boys some shout out. Trent Schwartz, Nelson Carla. I always say your name wrong, but anyway, I met him for the first time the other day, and I think the other month now, but I think he thought it was you. Anyway,
Lovely guy.
Plays basketball himself.
Yeah, NBL 1, right?
Yes, up there. I always see photos of himself playing as well, but no, those two, videography and photography. But Nelson especially, you made me shout out. No, make sure to mention his work he did with the Opals and the Boomers because Nelson travelled to. I don't know. He travelled to places.
Abu Dhabi, is that where they played?
I think you're right. He travelled all those places with the Boomers in their camp not long ago, and the content was killer. So shout out to Nelson especially.
Unreal content, and as you mentioned, both those guys, Trent and Nelson, are I guess what we would term hybrid shooters. They do both, but Nelson's the quality and quantity of content he turned around for both the Opals and Boomers was literally, if not more than what we probably did at Carlton in terms of like game stuff. Like the amount of stuff, and what I loved about it was he just kept it simple in terms of game highlights, like just uploading one play at a time sort of thing and just flooding it at its peak relevance. I think it's so powerful when you do that.
Yeah, so I think you got to be excited to cut in front of you, but it got to the point where there was like Boomers stuff that popped up on the Boomers page, then there was stuff that popped up on the Opals page, and even though I knew it was him because I could see the quality of it, I was just like, how has he done both? Like, how is he so quick to do both kind of thing? It made me question, does he have a team or one or two more people? But I could tell with the quality and the look of his stuff, I'm like, nah, it's him.
Yeah, he could have had someone helping, but at the very least, the actual producing or doing of the capturing of the content was him.
Great job.
Great job.
Hope you can hear that.
Two others, I'm sure you can. Two others I wanted to hit off the top. Both in the basketball world, but one, Sam Tolhurst.
Yes.
That's his name. So Tollywood on Instagram. He is elite at what he does. So he's actually, I think he knows someone from the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I saw him pop over at the Chicago Bulls Media Day right after doing our NBL Next Star shoot at Media Day as well. I'm like,
Power of nice reaction, huh? Nice. So power of connections and relationships. So I've seen him pop up in the college space. I think he shot. Yeah. Was it him that shot one of the WNBA playoffs? No, maybe I'm making that up. But something in the WNBA space. Chicago Bulls.
I think he has been.
Yeah. So he's unreal. Follow Hollywood again, hybrid photo and video, and he is the guy. Part of the team. I think he's got 3 or 4 in the company that does the Sydney Kings Media Day.
Yeah,
they are elite. And speaking of elite, Matt Adeponya must be a bit of Boomers or Opals flavour in this because he was previous to Nelson, who did at the same level of content for the Opals and Boomers. So Matt Adeponya, personal content for what? Ben Simmons.
Benny Simmons.
Benny Simmons, as his mates call him.
Patty Mills.
Yeah, sorry, Patty Mills is a big one. And even like Matisse Thybulle. So it has relationships with the Aussie Boomers and I'm sure Opals, but they're four close to home creators that go follow now because they're all unreal. So shout out to you.
And especially Matt, very helpful with like he's helped me and the NBL guys a heap with like just education
Great
on
call. Tollywood too.
setup as well, like setup knowledge, encyclopedia of content. Those guys, so shout out to them. We've gone too far on that, but we're happy to talk about it. Last one. How do you make sure you're not drained mentally in this space? Because this space, we've talked about it a bit. It's kind of not known to get burnt out, but I would say that it's easy to get.
I'd say run with your first sentence. It is known.
It is known for burning out.
We touched on it 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, in terms of how to avoid burnout, and I think we can even do a lengthier episode as we touched on. Know it's coming, as we said. So be prepared that you will burn out. So taking those steps, put those things in place now, not to do it. Whether that's working with your manager, if you just work by yourself, it's honestly there's no magical answer. Just take some time off. Just make sure you get time off and stop working.
Know you are bigger than the job and the content itself. Like I know that sounds whatever. Maybe it's like, oh, you're not grateful enough for your employee or the client you're working with. But the amount of times you kind of like you've probably done the same. The amount of times I've rushed a video or rushed to edit, and then you're like, hey, here you go, guys, or hey, this is done, and then
doesn't pay
like
off.
You yourself don't post it for a while, or whoever it's for, they don't post it for a while. It's like, why did I stay up, or why did I not help with dinner with that just to get the video done when it's not even there? And then that stuff is more important. So just know you're above that.
Yeah, well
Content,
said.
yeah.
And I think the only other point, so we touched on when we spoke about this last time, was when people are so fresh in the industry, they're in the mode that they've got to impress their employer.
Yeah.
What's more impressive is looking after yourself.
It's true.
Because it's true. That would literally, if your manager sees that you're taking the right steps not to kill yourself doing the job, they're going to be far more impressed, I reckon.
And they'll be impressed with the work because it'll be better. Like, once you're refreshed the next morning.
You won't be a zombie making those videos.
Exactly. Great tips.
And great questions. Thank you. So we're putting up a question box most weeks for our Instagram story. So thank you for everyone that keeps sending them through, because it generally is a lot of fun and helps the start of the show a lot.
And the people that joke around a bit as well, a bit of fun. We're not going to use those questions, but there was a few just taking a piss at me, and I'm just like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Good to have a laugh, but I'm not using that. Your week, Michael. I'm excited about this because you ran the marathon. Not really.
I did.
I saw. So Michael, he did a lot of content with Ruben for the Melbourne Marathon. I'm just stealing your like headline.
No, lead me into it.
I'm leading you into it, but I saw he put up on your story. Basically just held the medal of the Melbourne Marathon, which everyone is a runner these days, so like it's fully fine for people to be like, oh yeah, he's into running now, and he did the marathon, held the medal up, and then I think you got some responses basically being like, wow, good job.
Yeah, a lot of genuine people, and I thought I made it clear enough, because my previous story was saying that I was following Ruben for the day with the marathon, and as Darren said, if people would know me, they know I'm not an elite runner. But
go all right.
I saw, so after the after the marathon, Ruben hopped out of his car. He was absolutely exhausted. I think he was limping, doing something in his boot, and I saw the medal there, saw the opportunity. So I'm like, you know what? It's a nice medal. Let's do it. So thank you to Tess Madgen, former Opal, who just retired. She sent a lovely message saying, you look so fresh, and just congratulations, etc. But have fun with your content. Maybe that's a bit of a loop. But
no, it's a good point. Just enjoy it, and like that stuff is what makes the day sometimes. What makes their moment special.
It is.
Specialer.
Now
talk about, so what were you actually doing? You're following Ruben like a full day kind of thing and overnight. They bonded. That's
yes, we did bond. So my overall theme to what I'm talking about is favourite ways to film sport in 2024, because I love the thought of how you can choose handheld, you can go handheld, you can film on a gimbal, or you can film on a tripod. I mean, there's other things, drone, whatever, but let's stick to those three. So handheld, gimbal, tripod, and how they can all achieve different results, pros and cons of both, and what we prefer to shoot with. So let's run through them using my examples. So filming the Melbourne Marathon. Handheld, the reason I went handheld is it's a fast-paced environment, it's not controlled. I didn't know where I'd be trying to meet Ruben to get overlay of him running in the middle of the marathon. And it's a lot more sort of organic and raw, which is the vibe I wanted to go for when he crossed the finish line. He was reacting to the piece to camera. I think when I choose handheld, I think about how many piece to cameras I'm going to do in like a raw or authentic mode. And that's probably the biggest tips or the biggest factors that I factor in when I choose handheld.
I
What are
would
your
say
thoughts?
I would say the word authentic that you use is a great way to describe handheld because it's more in the moment. I feel like you're more.
It's shaky. The shakiness actually
It's not.
works
Yeah,
for
it's
it.
not a bad thing. It feels like once Ruben has run a marathon, it feels like you literally just reached him and you get his live reaction. Whereas if you did a tripod or maybe gimbal, not so much because you can still do that. But if you had a tripod, it's more like, hey, we're set up. It's kind of like 20-minute delay. That's what's in my head kind of thing. Not that long, but you get the picture that handheld is more like in the moment. So authentic is a good way to describe it. Even though some people are passionate about like, no, gimbal because handheld's more shaky. But honestly, I don't think you could tell us half the time.
I think so, especially with like Sony FX3s or FX6, the quality, and they have inbuilt stabilizers, a lot of these cameras,
It's fine.
and the lenses. And as you said, the most important thing to me is it's more relatable. You watch that footage that you see someone like in their face, you're like, I feel like I'm there almost.
Yeah. No,
you're not going to
true.
get that with a gimbal, but it's still going to be sort of that in an ideal or that perfectly balanced
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, no, true. And then that leads nicely into gimbal because I saw you using that yesterday.
Yeah, so perfect example for a gimbal, Darren, is yesterday. So I shot for the AFL Players Association. So
Zach Tui, saw you
Zach Tui, former.
Is he retired? He's retired.
Yeah,
now,
he's just
right?
retired. So Geelong and Carlton player.
He's
in the
Irish man.
AFL. It was an Irish piece actually for Irish players.
There you go.
But I chose the gimbal, and here's why: hook, clarity,
And then the pause is good as well.
yeah, here's why. And no, so I chose a gimbal because this was a series of piece to cameras. And what we're doing, I'll actually touch on what Jenna and I came up. Jenna's from AFL Players Association. So Zach had to deliver 5 or 6 piece to cameras, like sort of points that he had to roughly hit. Now, the difficulty with that is that you obviously can't expect them to memorize 6 or 7 paragraphs with key points they've got to hit. But we want it to be a bit more engaging, and we just didn't want it to be a sit-down interview. So we decided we were going to shoot it on gimbal. We had this empty room with a nice balcony, but the problem was, how do you separate each sentence, each paragraph? Because you're not on a interview shot where you can sort of punch in and out with B-roll. So have you seen those videos where, just say Zach's walking towards me, he finishes one sentence, and at the end of it he turns.
Oh yeah.
And then I, as a physical transition, and I just stay in front of him. And then the next video, we're walking the other way.
It was like a house tour.
Yeah, we did that
Real
6
estate.
times.
Yeah,
But sitting down, he started sitting down, and then ended sitting down as well. So he sort of, I hope the edit comes out as well as I hope. Otherwise, it's just going to look like he's in a maze. But yeah, just a bit of how we filmed it to achieve the result we want.
But I think that's if you you could have done that handheld, but if you know there's that much movement and you know interview is a bit more important kind of thing, like you want that to be more balanced, then gimbal I think is perfect for that. It's a great choice on that one.
Thank you. And because he's walking the whole time.
Yes.
You want that sturdiness.
There's actually movement that you know, like it's expected movement.
Yeah.
Whereas the handheld is like more freedom. You can kind of probably do more with it, but if you plan out what you actually want, gimbal is probably
No, I totally agree. I think handheld's more flexible.
Yes.
But gimbal will achieve the desired result for something like this. It'll look far more professional.
Yep.
So yeah, third one, tripod.
Tripod.
We just did an interview yesterday with Beck Allen, who is a legend as a person. So she's WNBA. Opal unfortunately missed it out on the last Opal series due to injury, but
and WNBA season,
yes.
I think it was a full season.
Was it full? I thought she played a bit.
Anyway, well, sorry, they're still anyway, the finals are about to finish.
But Phoenix are out. I think she's still with Phoenix. But anyway, so we did an interview with her. I was called up with another freelance video producer, Lara, who you've obviously met.
I don't think I've met her.
You haven't met her?
No,
you haven't. Anyway, so the shoot was for NBA Australia, which is one of those clients that, again, I still be like, it's just, you got to appreciate like the type of people I'm already working with, and we're already working with, because you're part of it, even though you weren't there. But
I wasn't there. I haven't met her.
So, interview outside on in Hawthorne, nice oval, nice greenery in the background, and of course you're going to choose a tripod. So, I actually want to use a tripod more, Darren. I want to use it more because
I'm not holding it back.
No, because my default is handheld.
Do you have a tripod? Do you want me to loan?
No,
you
I've got 2
tripod?
tripods. One's here, but recently upgraded my tripod. I forgot the brand. I can't plug it.
Move on.
Yeah, move on. But anyway, I love the way some people use tripods and allow their subject to do the moving, because I think so much of the time of what we do, we're following people, we're the ones moving. Well, I want to practice letting my subjects move in front of me, and an interview obviously is not in that case. That's not what I'm talking about. But for yesterday's example, obviously you're going to use a tripod for an interview, but that alone isn't that interesting. So I thought I just would add. I want to shoot more on a tripod.
More versatility with tripods, because you're right. I only think of tripods pretty much
For an
as like interview, setup, press conferences, that type of vibe. But plugging some YouTube stuff here. Sometimes when I go on YouTube, there's lots of like content creators talking about like whether it's a day in the life or I don't know how to make so and so money as a content creator, that type of vibe. People do it some cool scenes where it's like they've got a tripod set up and it's like a wide shot. It's far back. It's not like close up, and it gives a lot of versatility of where the person in frame is, and it does look good.
Yeah.
It's a good point about it. You can use a tripod for much more than just sit down interview, this type of thing. You can use it for a lot more. So,
yeah,
expand your game. Try it, Michael.
You do it too. We got to be more creative with it. Actually, I already did it. So with Ruben in the second part to this, and I feel like I'm taking a while here, but I'm going to embrace.
It's fine.
It's my time. The second part of the shoot with Ruben. Ruben ran the marathon, and after that, casually, we drove to Lorne, which is a 2-hour drive. Yes. There is a reason why it's in Lorne, but that doesn't matter at this point. But he relaunched his business. So in Lorne, we had 2 or 3 hours before he was relaunching his business online. He was working. I just got the tripod set up, nice wide shots of him just working on his computer. And it sounds...
It
sounds boring? That.
Sorry, yes.
That sounds boring, but I genuinely enjoyed setting up the tripod and just setting up 6 or 7 shots of him just working at his desk.
I was going to say, that's actually very good. Because, normally you just think of handheld. You'd be like, I'm going to come in tight on whatever you're doing. But if you set it up, see some sunshine in the windows, that type of...
Exactly.
The environment, that's a good
Get close, even though it can feel awkward. But if for anyone that follows Tom Noski, he's a Geelong... I think he's actually based in Geelong. But he uses that fantastically for all his overlay, for his talking heads. So
did Noski know that? No, sorry.
Not bad. Continue. But anyway, 3 different ways of filming. 3 results, 3 pros, types of pros and cons.
You know what? I'm just going to try this. Whenever I want to interrupt, you just kind of push so it's easy to interrupt.
I'd rather you just talk.
I've actually, you just gave me a not a light bulb moment. But when you set up a tripod like that, in terms of like when they're working and you're just setting it up and whatever, I feel like that's going to be much more comfortable for the subject rather than they know when it's on if you're handheld.
Oh, yeah. If
you just set up a tripod, sort of press record, they might forget it's there. And it's like... You'll get more authentic content if it's just rolling rather than we're doing it now. We're doing it now.
Yeah, that's true. They don't know when you're recording.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, you said it. Yeah. No, I think that's actually a very relevant point.
Thank you, sir. And now I know you. Anything else you want to touch on before it's my turn?
No, I enjoyed explaining that. I hope you enjoyed it. Now I want you to talk to me about being a content creator for a full-time job versus not.
Well, I also want you to talk about it because you have experienced both sides of the
good thing we've both got a microphone.
Coin. Both sides of the coin you have. So yes, you see a lot of things online about content creators in general, and then they compare 9-to-5 job, as in you have another job, and then you want to do the content creation outside of that. So you call it your 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5, or vice versa, like whether you're a morning or afternoon person, or you do it both. It's basically fitting it in between your full-time job.
Actually, don't advise starting work at 5 a.m.
Okay, well, you can do it if you want. Maybe you go to bed at 8 and get a good quality sleep. So it's that versus maybe leaving your full-time job and just doing the 9 to 5, like doing your content creation as your 9 to 5, as your full-time thing, nothing else, no distractions. I just think it's an interesting chat because I feel like every content creator is probably in that situation, like whether maybe you're starting out and you're like, how can I make this full-time? Or maybe you're happy doing it as a side hobby. Like maybe it really depends on your situation. But I also think it's easy to get influenced by what you see online because the amount of like, especially threads, the amount of, I go on threads, I do enjoy it, but the amount of like threads that you see that are just like, it's almost like promoting working for yourself and going that entrepreneur outlet. But there's the first thing that comes to my mind if you do that is like the financial stuff. And this is why I wanted to talk to you about it because like when you did this whole thing about like, hey, I'm going to make 2 times creative my full time, I'm going freelance full time. And it was really cool. But then we both chatted. It's like you have to almost expect that the financial situation is not going to be steady until maybe 1-2 years in, 3, 4 years. I don't know. Like it's gonna take some time, and you were fully aware of that. And I think you've embraced it.
Yeah.
Don't
Oh,
get-
I think you have to embrace it to
Yeah.
start it.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. But I guess how was that?
Yeah,
How
well,
was- how was that from
Yeah,
adjusting?
well, I guess for context, I don't know if we ever said this, but we created 2 Times Creative to be a freelance thing.
Yeah, it was
And then
never full time.
I threw the spanner in the works by saying, Darren, I love what we're doing, or what we're starting to do. I'm going to do it full time. So, yeah, I don't know. The biggest thing overall is I'd say everyone's different. So you've really got to, your point about being influenced by people online in particular is a great one. You've got to take your time to actually think about what you want to do. Don't just feel like you should quit your job and do your own thing full time because that's what you see online and that's what everybody's doing. Because literally everybody's doing it. Like there's so many people doing it. But in terms of me, I was fully aware of the grind that it would be, and it's definitely not easy. But in a weird way, it's what I wanted. So I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. I knew it was going to be a grind, but from totally a personal development side of things, that's where my motivation for it came from. I'm so glad I did it, and I am embracing just the first. I mean, it's still the first year, so
Yeah, true.
embracing it, being a grind, and learning as I go. So, as an overview, I think that answers it.
It does. No, it's just interesting. And it's fascinating what whoever's gone through this themselves. It's probably fascinating to talk to them individually. That's not what this podcast is about, but I'm sure you can find stuff online. But sorry, do you have anything to add?
Well, I was going to say you.
That's when the touch strategy can.
Well, I don't think it's.
Yeah. Then I
What
know
if we just keep tagging?
And then I know you're like coming in,
Yeah.
inserting yourself into the
I
conversation.
think that's actually what they do when it's not a visual thing. But the problem we've got is a visual thing.
Put your hand up. Go
But
on.
anyway, you've experienced the other. Because you do experience both sides of it too. I know you said you want to talk to me about it, but you have your 9 to 5, and then because you're a psycho in your own right, you start a new
Workaholic, baby.
you start a new passion or side brand every second week doing your own. No, no.
Speaking
Darren,
of, I want to.
what I'm joking about it, but Darren is very good and. Well, not very bad, but it's like the same thing because Darren's great at having an idea and he will not say no until he's tried it. And trust me, I've tried saying no to him in terms of my opinion on what's right for him. But Darren, you will just do it no matter what. I think that's actually a great trait. But my point to this is you've done both. So what have you found? Like, I assume you've had the thought run through, could you just do your own thing full time? But you obviously still love the 9 to 5. Why? The security? Like what?
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a good point, and the idea stuff. I think it's a funny thing. Like it is a strength, I think, to just dive into something and try it. But as you're quick to remind me, which is good, it's just like, where do you want to spend your time? What are your actual priorities? Like, do you want to be running 3 podcasts, or do you want to spend more time with your wife?
7
or
podcasts.
spend more time with your family, or spend more time doing nothing?
Yeah.
Like it's that type of questions. But yeah, I mean, it's that's why it's hard. Like if someone's in a position where they have a 9 to 5 and they don't like it, it's probably easier to be like, okay, I'm going to do this content creation stuff on the side and just sort of work my way up to that financial ability. But then there's people like me, I still love my job and like I still want to do both. Yeah. And then you obviously can't do both. And there's times I'm just like, hey, I want to help you more, but I'm like, I don't know, I'm tired. I'm just going to watch Netflix or something. But no, it's a great conversation, and it's a great thought process for anyone that's thinking about that stuff.
Why don't we try to help those people with pros and cons of both? So we can go pros. So pros
for the 9 to 5 for the full time.
Go 9 to 5 first.
Yeah.
So
I think
so you hit us first.
I'm leading this segment.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. Pros definitely like that financial security.
Yep.
You know what you're getting. You know what that contract says. You have that stability, and that makes you feel good. Simple as that. More pros. Consistency. Yeah, exactly. You have somewhere to show up to every single day that you're like, I'm doing this. I'm working with this group of people. It's like, it's known. It's not the unknown.
Yeah, good point. And one thing that I'd like to add is connection with your team members.
Yes, I think
your colleagues.
Yes, no, true. You won't feel as lonely on that journey, I think.
Oh, for sure. Well, you're in particularly like an NBL or a sporting club that we've both been part of. It's unreal, that atmosphere, that environment.
That's a great point. That's definitely a big plus. Yeah, you feel like you're part of a team. Other pros, I think they're the main pros, honestly. Cons, there's not, look, this is very situational. Go.
Con is in particularly sport is if in some paths, there's ceilings to where you can go. So if you don't have
Come
any
on.
aspirations of managing people, aka me, and you want to be tools on, aka me, you there is nowhere for you to really go sometimes. If you
Yes.
want to stay on the tools and don't want to manage people, then the role you're in is probably going to be the role you're in. And that's amazing if that's going to keep you, is stimulate the right word, but like engaged with it. That's unreal. But there are a lot of cases, and I think that's why we see high turnover in sport, particularly, and other industries, but sport particularly. Whether that's a major con, I'm not sure because everyone's different, but it can be.
It's situational, and that goes back to the whole thing of like, if you know your next step in that industry, it's great. Like in that business, it's great because you have someone to work towards. But with the whole corporate stuff comes like hierarchy, being valued, responsibility. There's all these things about the corporate lifestyle that if you go out by yourself, that stuff kind of like is scrapped. And yes,
Yeah.
it will come into play once maybe your business comes, like it builds and builds and builds. That comes into play. But if you are the business to begin with, you obviously have all the responsibility.
Yeah.
And that comes stress, that comes everything, but there are pros to that as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll lead into now, which is the first thing that comes to my mind is like freedom.
Yeah, I'm loving my freedom and flexibility. I remember real life example. Dad recently moved house. He's like, "Can you help?"
Yes, I can.
I don't want to disturb you with your work. And I said, "Dad, look at it from this side of things. I'm the most flexible I've ever been.
Yeah.
I can spend all day at your house if like it's up to me to push back other things and work around it."
You know, that's a great example. Like that's a perfect example because the man that works for himself and like has, it's not a 9 to 5. It's just his full-time freelance job. He has helped Dad move house. I've not been to Dad's house once. Part of that was because I was on leave and I was on like a
He
mini
literally just did
honeymoon.
it the other day.
Yeah, no, but I just found it funny that was a good example because I've not been over kind of thing.
Yeah, but you're allowed room to create your own priorities. You're your own boss. So
Yeah, I mean, I could have gone today, this morning instead of doing this, right?
Darren's beating himself up a bit. Anyway,
Love you, Dad.
so it's not where I expected you to go with it. But
kidding.
you have the freedom to create your own priorities, deadlines, and your own calendar in a sense. And I'm absolutely loving that. Like I think you in terms of total hours worked, I think you still definitely work more, but it's totally up to you. So that's a major pro. And then the variety is the other one. Like I absolutely love, I've talked to you about this, and I'd love to get more consistent in terms of monthly recurring revenue from retainer clients. So right now it's only 2, including recently the personal brand Sean. So it's 2.
Yep.
I'd love my months to be more in concrete of what I'm actually going to get, so you know the rough income, because that goes into a con of a lot of the months you're looking into the next couple of weeks and you're like, oh, I don't have much going on there, and am I going to hit my target of money that I need to live, but I guess revenue in terms of the business as well. So pro is the flexibility, and the con of that is obviously, pro is the variety, and the con of that is actually not knowing sometimes.
Yes,
the unknown.
I was going to say the unknown is actually a pro and con for that whole thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
exciting,
it's it's exciting but scary.
Yeah.
What was the last thing? Oh no, you know what would be cool if anyone is going through this type of thought process and they need help. Like, you know, what'd be cool. Like, full on get an email sent to us. Well, we won't, like, even if we talk about it next episode, we're not going to use your name or anything. But like, send us your situation at 2timescreative@gmail.com. 2x creative. I always get that.
2x. Yeah,
Yeah, it's actually 2x creative, the actual proper email address. But it'll be cool to like hear your situation, and then we can either just literally reply to you on email and talk to you individually, set up a call, or we can talk about it on the episode and actually like dive into it a bit more if you're comfortable. But I reckon that'd be really cool if people were like in their own minds about it, and we're like, hey, we can help someone.
Case study.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Case study type.
One other thing that, sorry to cut you off, the pros and cons. So a con of in a full-time 9 to 5, and something that I've loved being a full-time freelancer is in a 9 to 5, how many people it's got to go through for things to get approved.
Oh, yeah.
So like the cycle, there's a saying of that, but like the cycle, how many eyeballs have to actually see bits of content for what we produce or a video, and how many people are actually making changes on that video, as opposed to in my position, it's me, and it's most likely one other person, the client.
That's a great point.
So you're working directly with them. You've got more of a say. Of course, you've still got to. Of course, at the end of the day, you've still got to do what the client says in terms of their personal preference, what's best for them. But you get that much more say, and I think at the end of the day, we all want to say, I just rhymed 3 times in a
You
row.
should say like 5 times.
I'm a
but no.
rapper.
Basically, what Michael's trying to say, there's way many. Yeah, there's.
Hang on, no, let me say it. I think I delivered it well. It just
Oh, did you?
rhymed. It sounded good.
No,
It was a compliment.
I was trying to say there's way too many. There's not too many. There's way many. How do you say that? There's
far more people.
Oh, sorry. There's far more chefs in the kitchen in the corporate world versus in the freelance world, and that is a good saying. That is a good way to leave that one. Don't you reckon?
Are there any others? Because I love this talking point. So we've covered pros and cons of both. We've covered the processes. I think it's a great discussion, and again, don't be influenced by other people. You've got to take your time to figure out what was actually best for you.
Don't, and that's applies to both things, both worlds. If you want to leave the 9 to 5 or go into the 9 to 5, it's all up to you. Like, don't listen to others just because your best friend did that.
To be honest, as well, if you're not sure, this might not be the best advice, but just try it. You can always go. You said this to me. I remember Dad or Mum said this to me. Like, what if it doesn't work? Like, what if it struggles? I'm like, well, without sounding arrogant, you just go back to full-time work. It's not arrogant. I'll find another job. You'll find another job. So it goes back to Darren with his a million hobbies and podcast ideas. If you don't try it, you're not going to know. So just try it.
It's a much better feeling trying these things than thinking back in 5 years, 10 years and be like, damn, I could have done that.
Yeah.
Anyway, send us an email.
Send us an email.
Case study.
We'll bring you in. We'll set up a seat and we'll case study. You're welcome to my home and we can do it in real life.
Live.
But probably not.
Next one, I just really wanted to touch on 3 quick things that I took away from my wedding.
Yeah, wrap the episode up with this. I like this.
Rapid fire because it's getting to my clock out time over here. I'm on a strict schedule 9 to 5. As we just talked about. No, I'm kidding.
Freedom. It's actually a work day. It's Monday.
It's I've missed many meetings. Just kidding. I actually do this I plan this nicely. Anyway, 3 things to take away from my wedding, not from being the groom myself, but like the videographer and photographer one, which I'll rattle them off. Actually, I'm going to make it 4 things. The number 1, just great people. I really enjoyed Alex Chung, photographer, Alex Kooks. So he kind of has many different names.
So when Darren and Jess were getting married, they're like, let's make this easier. We just want Alex's.
Yeah, it's true. They're both named Alex, but Alex Chung Photography, Alex like Kooks, but then his last name's actually Ione. Anyway, Alex Kooks. Just try that.
The important thing is you're giving him a shout out.
Yeah, videographer, both great selects by us. Selections, they were great. Yeah. Anyway,
so what's your first point?
3 things. Number 1, be assertive. Just be confident going into that day because I can speak on this from experience now as being the groom myself. I nearly called myself the bride and the groom. Being the groom myself, if someone takes charge in that department about like, where they think the best photo would be, it makes you so much more confident, so much more happier. Yeah, almost like
belief as well. I assume in that moment, like I was sort of driving you around, so I knew I could see them doing their thing, and in that wedding environment, you have to be assertive and you have to tell yourself or Jess what to do. So is that something you're going to try to do more of or take more into your work? Is that
definitely? I think even like we've talked about interviews a fair few times, but just make the people feel comfortable, which I'll touch on later. But make the people feel comfortable and just drive the show. Yep. Know the direction that you want to take in because otherwise there's nothing worse than being in that grey area where the person filming and leading the show plus the talent, I'll call them. There's nothing worse than both of that. No one being confident or no one being like, "What's next?" Like you don't want that "What's next" stage. Which is like, can someone lead?
Yeah, you're the expert, so you got to act like it.
Yeah, so be assertive. Number 2, their work ethic. Those guys were like, you were around them, especially. I said to the photographer a number of times and the videographer, but people on your wedding day are very much like, take a rest, have some water. I was saying to those guys, like, please take 20 minutes off. Yeah, eat some food, and they were like, no, you want that photo? I'm like, yeah, but like, please take care of yourself. Their work ethic is crazy, so I think that's something to take on board to anything we do.
It's actually borderline. They're almost. Are they the people that are doing the most?
Yeah,
in a sense, because like they actually don't get to stop. Even the bride and groom get to stop.
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably go home more tired than us, which is
why I've always said I could never do it, and it takes a special creative to do it.
Shout out to them. Yeah, anyone that does that. Thirdly, be approachable. I cannot tell you the amount of times we were laughing with these guys. We were just talking about life. We were talking about like just weddings, the funny situations that we're in right in that moment. Like being approachable made me and Jess, and even me and you, like we didn't know these guys, just so much more relaxed and so much. It was just happy. It was a happier time shooting because that time can be stressful due to time sensitivity and stuff. But if you just joke and laugh and if you have to cut out a few photos, a few locations, it's fine. Like as long as you're approachable, I think that was almost like their main strengths along with the actual content.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also important to know that they're there to make the best day of your life, the best day of your life. So if they came in there, they were ultra serious, like Darren, Jess, come on, like you've got to get this shot, we've got to get this shot. They're actually like decreasing your enjoyment of the day. It's your big day. The least they could do is sort of lighten up and be nice and approachable, as you said.
You can imagine like being there and then it's like, oh, let's do it again, let's do it again, let's do it again. And you're just like, guys, like this is meant to be authentic.
Yeah,
and I think I've been around wedding people that I'm not gonna name names here, but I remember there was a wedding, and I get some of this is like candid and some of it is like whatever. But we went to a wedding and the photographer was like hold it like to the groom and bride, hold these wine glasses and act like you're really enjoying it or whatever. For a photo, and they were like, "Oh, none of us drink. Like, literally, none of us drink red wine." And then he's just like, "Yeah, no, I'll make a good photo." I'm like, "But why would you want to look back on that? Even if it's a killer photo, why would you look back on that and be like, oh man, that described us in a relationship, but it's not. They don't drink. Like, just I don't know. I feel like if a bride and groom told me, and I was shooting, I'd just be like, oh, fair enough.
Yeah, and I think we always go back to that word authenticity. How is that authentic to who the bride and groom are?
Exactly.
Which you can take to every bit of content. Like, do what your subject actually wants to do, in a way. And
it's their it's their special day.
Yeah. Good learnings, Darren. Do you have a fourth, or was that no 3?
My fourth was just saying good people. I wanted to shout them out.
Yep. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take some of them into my.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, that's it. That's a wrap. I don't think we've got anything else. It's been a pleasure. Any closing tips for the people out there, Darren? I'll put you on the spot here.
Just if you are I'm very curious to see a situation. If you are contemplating 9 to 5 versus 5 to 9 or 5 to AM, PM, whatever.
Or it might be 6 to. I was gonna just give a random time slot because the freedom is in. I work 8 till 2.
We're not making sense here. We're struggling. It's towards the end of the episode. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes, we appreciate it. Hey, hit us with more questions. We're always saying that at the end of episodes because we enjoy them and we want more of them. 2xcreative@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in, Darren. Go enjoy being married, and thank you for being here once again.
I'm already enjoyed being married, but I will continue to doing so.
Thanks, people.